Hello everyone, welcome to my tutorial. Today's tutorial I'm going to talk about the persistence process. So in the persistence process, the first thing that happens is called the fetched, and data fetched from DB results in a copy of that data in memory, which is referred as data snapshot or persistence context or cache. Okay, so if we look over here, that means let's say we have a database over here, and in the table we have, in the database we have two tables, student and course. Now this is fetched, so I'm calling this to be fetched. Okay, and going over here is again in the cache. So the cache is nothing but the context, okay, cache or persistence context. And then data now residing over here, so we can say like previously it was data over here, and then data is now residing in the cache, and the cache or persistence context, and we can call this to be temporary storage. Now this data is being managed by plain Java objects. So that means the student and course now residing over here. Okay, student and course. Okay, and we are manipulating the data, changing something within the student and course object, and which means that we are changing in the Java objects. So now let's look into the next point, which is the data fetch now resides outside of DB in memory, and data is now accessed or managed through the Java objects or entities. Data now residing in persistence context can be manipulated through EntityManager. In other words, EntityManager is an instance of persistence context. After data is changed through Java objects or entities in persistence context, it needs to be propagated to DB automatically or manually through a process called flush. So if we look at this picture again, what is happening is, so once we change the Java objects, so let's say we have a student A with course, let's say C1, C2. Now we change the Java object student A going to have the course C1 and C3. So first we fetched it, and now we need to flush it to the DB. So this is called flush. And how we are doing it? Through the EntityManager. Okay. And what is EntityManager? We'll be talking about that later on. But remember that EntityManager again is an instance of persistence context. Okay, so again, just to summarize everything, we are going to have what? So we are going to, we say that we have a database, which is the persistence unit. We fetched the data. Data is coming to a temporary storage, which is called the cache or the persistence context, and then the data is now residing within the Java objects or managed by the Java objects, and then we change it, and after changing we are flushing it, and flush going to the database and being saved. Now there are some catches over here. We can say that it can be DB automatically or manually through process called flush. Okay, so now flushing strategies, again, flushing is like how we're saving it, and fetching is how we are retrieving it. So now flushing strategies can be auto, which is default, and commit. That means flush occurs before commit. The transaction is then complete and changes are made in DB. Okay, so if we look into this picture again, that this student is now saved over here. Okay, and we are saying that this is now changes are made into the DB. Once transaction is complete, the Java object entity in persistence context becomes detached. So once we save it, this student object, we are calling this to be a detached object. This is no more managed by the persistence context. So EntityManager is cleared and closed by clear and close methods. Entities can be detached when the methods detach or evict is called. Further changes on these entities will not be reflected in the DB as these objects are outside of the persistence context and not managed. Change on a detached entity can be reflected in DB through merge methods. Okay, so let's say we are going to have over here, so this is now, once we save it, this is a detached, and again if we would like to change, let's say A is going to have another course C4, then we have to invoke a method called merge. Okay, so we'll be talking about these methods later on, but just remember that once we detach an object, this is not managed by the persistence context. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you.